Greetings, everyone. I'm live. I just want to give a big shout out to all 1,005 of you. We just hit 1,000 subs this morning. So big thanks, big shout out. I can't believe that my channel has grown at all. I really do thank you guys for showing up and showing your support. I wanted to celebrate in some little way by doing a quick little movie review. I just got back from seeing Bong Joon-ho. He's the director of Snowpiercer, Memories of Murder, and one of my personal favorites, The Host. I really like all of his movies. And it's such a weird story of how I ended up going to see this movie. About last week was E3, and I had signed up for tickets to go to the Sony Experience, which is like this big film, like movie theater showing of Sony's E3 press conference. And I had to go through this weird website called GoFobo, which is like a free tickets, a free movie screening website that sends out, like, you exchange your personal data, and then they use that for whatever nefarious purposes. And then you get like information about local screenings and tickets to go see movies in town. So I signed up to go see the Sony Experience. And this week, actually, this afternoon, I got an email that usually, like, when I forget to like unsubscribe from those sorts of mass emails from those companies. Well, I was about to do that very thing whenever I got an email saying that, hey, we're having an Okja screening nearby. And I was like, Okja? I was like, oh, that's that Bong Joon-ho film that's supposed to come out as a direct-to-Netflix exclusive. Like, Netflix funded this film. And it's supposed to come out, I believe, either tonight or tomorrow on Netflix. So you guys will be able to check it out probably after this video. So I was like losing my mind because anytime there's a Korean film that comes over to a local theater or a Japanese film that comes over to a local theater, I try and go out there and show my support. And especially if it's one by one of my favorite directors, Bong Joon-ho. So at this very theater, I had seen Snowpiercer. And it's one thing to watch a really bizarre Korean movie in the comfort of your own home, and it's an entirely new experience to see it with other strangers from your town. So this is like one of those situations where I kind of knew the premise of this film going in, just like little bits and pieces, and I had heard the reaction it had at the Cannes Film Festival. And I knew that many reviewers and critics out there were hating this film because Netflix was funding it. So because Netflix, a streaming service, was funding this film, nobody wanted to see it. And so I was like, that's kind of a shitty reason. It shouldn't matter who funds the film or where the film is debuting. I mean, it should just be judged on its own merits. So anyway, I was really excited for that reason because, regular critics were like, I don't want to even bother with this movie and yada yada, turning their nose up at it. So yes, I got that email. I immediately went through that website. I gave them all the free information. Like, here, take everything. Here's my social security number. Here's my phone number. Take it all. I want to go see this film. And, it was like just hours before. So I signed up. I got 2 free tickets, and I went with my girlfriend, and we went to go see Okja. And it had a huge turnout. I was really surprised to see how many people went to go show support for this Netflix exclusive Korean drama that we were seeing in a theater. So anyway, like there was a big turnout. I mean, it's a free movie, so when there's a free movie, there's going to be a huge turnout, even if they have no idea what they're getting into. And I knew that it was Bong Joon-ho, so I was going to see some weird shit. And I was so eager for it too. But we're talking about like elderly people, people with children, people with babies, just random bros that just showed up like, fucking free movie, bro. Let's go see this. Little did they know what they were in for. This movie is, this is something I can instantly recommend right out the gate. Like, no matter what your feelings are towards PETA and veganism and the meat industry, like even if you have strong feelings either way, like just as a film by itself, it's a very impactful film, and it's something that's going to move you in some way or another. So I can tell you that much without spoiling it. So if you don't want to know too many details, I'm not going to give away the whole plot, but I am going to talk about some of it. So definitely give it a look. It's going to be on Netflix either tonight or tomorrow, free to stream if you have Netflix. Definitely watch it. But so I'm just gonna give you the setup here, and then I will give you a spoiler break in there because this is all live. Okja is the best way to compare it. It's like My Neighbor Totoro meets The Last Guardian, the video game, meets The Jungle, not the Jungle Book, The Jungle, the novel. And then meets one of Bong Joon-ho's like eccentric, crazy, like it's almost like The Host, which is one of his other films, but a more positive, starts off as a kid-friendly type of film and then devolves. It's like a deconstruction of My Neighbor Totoro and the meat packing industry, and just it's beautiful in what it does. So the very beginning stars Tilda Swinton. So this is like an East meets West kind of thing, like what they did with Snowpiercer by having like Chris Evans and other American actors and Tilda Swinton meet like Korean actors. And I really love this this melding or this blending. It's just like something you would never get anywhere else. So I love what he does when he casts like this like diverse cast of like Korean actors and American actors. So it starts off as Tilda Swinton and back in 2007, and she's like the heiress to this meat packing corporation, and she's trying to like clean up this image, and she's trying to say that we are going to go completely GMO free. We're going to have like a lesser impact on the environment, and we found this breed of pig that's actually a lot bigger than our normal size pigs. So if we have a bigger pig, it's going to lessen the impact on the environment. It's going to yield more meat, and they're all going to be free range animals. So that's our setup back in 2007. And she's like, we're going to reveal this pig and our plans for this pig 10 years from now. So in modern day 2017. So it's really flashy. It's got all these just like think about your Apple or your other big giant corporation where they try and jazz up and dress up like the atrocities that go on behind the scene, like with all these big lauding promises. And so it's got all, like, I call it like the Target commercial, like where you hear a ukulele in the background, just somebody strumming away, and then they've got somebody on a xylophone just playing a few beats and stuff, just like something very saccharine and sugar coated. So you know that something sinister is about to go down. And then we hard cut to it's 2017. We're in South Korea, up in the mountaintops, like in rural South Korea, and we follow this little Korean girl and her pet Okja, which is this giant pig. And you immediately start getting My Neighbor Totoro vibes. It's just like a little girl and her giant animal companion. And I mean, it's just such a sweet movie at that point. Like, you know, it's hitting all the same beats. Like, you get this relationship between this girl and her animal. And yes, there are some, like, Last Guardian, as they call them, red herrings, like where you think they're in danger. Like, she's hanging off a cliff in the very beginning, and then, you know, Oak just saves her. And It just develops this like nice relationship, and it builds up all these expectations that yes, she's going to live out her days with Okja, and things are gonna go nice, right? So I'm going to go into some light spoilers before I go into the huge stuff later on. So this is Act 1. We're setting up this relationship, and then Jake Gyllenhaal comes in. And Jake Gyllenhaal's character is like, he's kind of like this nature documentarian style guy. And he's also a mixture of Groucho Marx. He's got this like weird ass long mustache, and he's got this high frilly voice throughout. And you can tell he's got a super ego. He's going in deep. He wants all the attention. So he comes in to visit Okja, and apparently it's the 10-year mark, and they're gonna have this big super pig competition, and they're gonna take Okja over to New York, and they're gonna show off Okja and like their proud creation and yada yada yada. You can kind of see where it's going in your mind, and the little girl has a grandfather that raised her, and he had told her that he had paid off the corporation to be able to keep Okja. Well, he told a little white lie. He didn't actually. He ends up selling off Okja to the corporation, or really technically Okja was always belonging to this corporation, so they're here to take him back. And you see this whole brave little toaster, or this great journey unfolding, and this little girl like going out to New York to try and save Okja. But first, she goes to this corporation. They have like a little building in Seoul, North Korea, or Seoul, South Korea, excuse me. They have a little organization there, and so they're like getting ready to take Okja and like send her across to New York. But before that happens, it turns into like a heist film for a second, when this organization that's like the stand-in for PETA, or the people for the ethical treatment of animals, like there's a stand-in called ALF, I think it's the Animal Liberation Force, and they pull off this heist to try and get Okja. Meanwhile, this little girl is like running through the streets, hanging off this car, trying to get in to get Okja. And it's led by Paul Dano and Steven Yeun. Steven Yeun, you'll know him as like Glenn from The Walking Dead. So they're like trying to free Okja, but they're doing it in the most like peaceful manner, like non-lethal. They're trying to use like non-lethal combat, and it's just like hilarious how that unfolds. So what ends up happening is like Okja ends up getting captured by them deliberately by the ALF, and then they're going to release Okja with this tracker in her ear so they can find out where the base is, and it also has a camera in there so they can kind of show off what this corporation's doing, so on and so forth. So without getting into any further spoilers of how this plot's going to go, it moved me. Like, it was one of those films, like, here I am wearing my freaking Morrissey shirt, which is like one of the biggest vegans of all time, like one of the more notorious ones. I'm not a vegan myself. I eat meat, but like, it's one of those movies that gives you pause, and you're like thinking about the impacts of the meat production, especially in America, and like how factory farms work, and just how everyone at every level is treated, from the workers to the animals, and all the impacts therein. And like, this is like one of those movies that will make you feel like a piece of shit. And that's a good thing. It could be a good thing. It's a good thing to have some introspective moments, especially, I mean, it's one thing to just have a movie that entertains you. It's another thing to have a movie that makes you think and makes you like look at yourself. And I just thought throughout this movie, like, I was gonna see something sad. Like, you know, you go in and you see a big animal or a big companion, like the Iron Giant or something. You know, it's just like a big thing making a relationship with a little thing, and you're in your mind, you're already like planning out how it's gonna go. You're like, I'm gonna see some sad shit here, and I'm gonna cry. And it was so much more than that. So Without getting into any further spoilers, go watch the movie, give it a chance for yourself. Go watch any of Bong Joon-ho's films, and it'll kind of like desensitize you to some of the like in-your-face moments that he delivers in this one, because he really pulls no punches in this. It's a straight up. There is no like two sides to this film. It's only one side, and it's like the brutality of the meat industry, and it really puts it out in front of your face. So let's go into the further part of my review here, and this is like the third act, so we're gonna get into spoiler territory and like how crazy this goes, and like how weird it was being an audience member, knowing that there were children nearby, like just a foot away, and so anyway, Act 2 is kind of about the little girl in Okja in New York, and like how she's planning to become like the face of this industry. She ends up becoming the poster child. Like Tilda Swinton sees like how they kidnapped the girl and how they kidnapped Okja, or really like captured Okja, like in the middle of all this news and in the middle of all these like selfies and all these cameras. So they know they've got like a bad image. And then this ALF federation's like releasing all these videos of all these atrocities happening to these like giant pig creatures. And then they slowly start to learn the truth that no, they did not find some like giant pig species like in Chile. They were genetically bred, and there was like all these fucked up, deformed versions of it and failed experiments. And then like Jake Gyllenhaal finally like breeds this giant mutant that ends up becoming Okja, and there's about like 15 other ones out there in the world. So what ends up happening is like they want to use that little girl as the figurehead and show that, oh, look, she's happy. Like, she's happy with what happened with Okja, and everything is fine. We're a peaceful corporation, and you can enjoy our beef jerky and our sausages and all this shit. And then so Giancarlo Esposito, aka Gus from Breaking Bad, he's in there, and he's kind of like he's like this middleman who's trying to fuck her over. So like Tilda Swinton is trying to like put a positive spin on all these atrocities, and like he's kind of setting her up for failure because she also has a twin sister that's like old school. She's like the jungle. She's like the old school meat packing, I don't give a fuck, put a bullet in every one of them type of meat owner. So like it's like the transition from the happy-go-lucky owner to the old school. So like it's being set up in the background. So Act 3 is like when Okja is taken back by the corporation, and Jake Gyllenhaal is like drunk, and he's jealous of Okja throughout the entire thing, and he sees Okja as competition because before he was getting all this attention and he was the face of the company and everyone loved him, and then he gets Okja in his claws, and he's like really drunk, and he's like wearing these hot pants throughout, and you're like thinking like, what the fuck? This is like one of the weirdest characters I've ever seen in my life. And then he pulls Okja into the breeding grounds and has this other mutant Okja-like pig that's like this big fucking alpha bull Okja, and there's like this just straight on giant pig rape scene. And all I'm sitting there is like, obviously I'm really fucked up. Like, this is the most fucked up imagery I could think of, because here you have this like My Neighbor Totoro figure, and everything's happy and everyone's happy and they're living fine in the mountaintops. And then the dichotomy of giant pig on pig rape scene. And here I am like, you brought your fucking babies to this? You brought your children to giant... Did you read the IMDb? Have you seen any of Bong Joon-ho's film? You knew this was going to happen if you did. Anyway, so I'm like, I'm terrified, I'm horrified, and then I'm also laughing on the inside because obviously there's some children in the theater that are going to need some therapy after this. So yeah, if that wasn't bad alone, like after the giant pig rape scene, Jake Gyllenhaal takes a meat gun that he sticks into Okja to extract different cuts of meat from Okja, and then like immediately throws it out to the taste testers, right? So you're thinking like Okja's gonna be dead. No, that's their show pig. They're gonna show it off. So there's this big like lead up to this parade where they're gonna have this giant pig show, and like there's like the little girl is gonna be reunited with Okja, and like this, like you know that when they lift the veil, that Okja is gonna be all fucked up from being raped, and then also like having a meat gun and everything. So like, I mean, every little expectation you could have about there being a happy ending, it's like pulled from under you for like many times, and you're like your heart's getting torn up because like that relationship you have as an audience member and the giant cute super pig is just like completely torn away from you and shattered, and you become like almost numb to it because like you know where the story's gonna end up, and you don't want to go there, and you almost want to leave from it, but it's also important that you watch this because you're like questioning every cheeseburger and every hot dog you've eaten up until that point. And so yeah, I ended up like, it ends up, so big spoilers if you've hung with me this far, big spoilers. The third and like the final part is like the big factory farms, like where they have all the just fields of Okjas, like fields of different super big pigs. And like the girl is like trying to navigate through, like she's with the organization, the ALF, the PETA guys. They are trying to track down Okja, but obviously there's thousands of pigs on this farm. And so she goes like into the meat packing industry and just sees every brutal thing a child should never see about how the sausage is made, how the meat is made, and in a horrific, gruesome detail, like something Morrissey would show like in the background while he's playing How Soon Is Now or something at one of his shows. Like unapologetic, unrelenting, brutal gore and violence and squealing. You see like one of the guys who like they put like these pigs in the harnesses like where their neck so their bodies can't move, and he's just like shooting them in the head, and you're hearing all the gunshots, and you're seeing their limp corpses fall onto these platforms, get torn up. I mean, it's just, as I said, it's like a deconstruction of any big animal movie you've ever seen. Like imagine like watching one of those dog films, but all the dogs are harvested and they're shot in the head in front of the little girls. And as I said, I'm sharing this theater with children and babies because their moms thought, oh, free cute film about a super pig. So yeah, I'm also laughing on the inside, but also crying. Anyway, so I'm not going to give away the ending, so I'm not going to tell you what happens to Okja, but yeah, at that point, like I'm in tears. My girlfriend's lost it. There's like this 350-pound dude. I keep looking back at him thinking like, are you going to have one shred of remorse? Are you going to cry? Is there going to be a tear? Are you sweating? I can't tell. Is that a bucket of popcorn with bacon grease? I don't even know at this point, but I'm just like, it's one of those like visceral feelings, like, cause you're an audience member. And I think this is one of those films like that I can see that the Netflix release is almost an injustice because it's something you need to experience with other people's, and I think it needs to be seen by a wider audience. Like, no, I'm not going to stop eating meat at the end of this, but you know, it's one of those things. Like I'm just going to come back to it and rewatch it and reevaluate everything that I've ever thought about. How meat is made, how the sausage is made, and I think that's just a signifier of a good film overall. Like, even if you disagree with the overall message, like it makes you think, and it makes you feel, makes you laugh in parts, just about like how far Bong Joon-ho takes it. But I've come to expect that from his films. Like, I'm a big fan of his films. Like, Memories of Murder is a great detective drama. The Host is another one of his giant creature films. Snowpiercer also has, every single one of his films touches on the morality or of choice, of decisions, of things we take for granted. So, like, if you've never seen Bong Joon-ho's films, go out there. I'm sure there's some on Netflix. Go see The Host, definitely. Stream that, and then go see Okja, because Okja is definitely. It's not an easy film to stomach. But I was really surprised that no one walked out. Like, everyone wanted to get their money's worth of this free film, and I'm glad they did. There was definitely some conversations happening at the end of this film. So, yeah. I usually don't make movie reviews, guys. This is not the typical content. But when Bong Joon-ho releases a film in America, and the Weinstein brothers fucking said, no, we're not going to produce this. We're not going to greenlight this. And Netflix comes out, and Netflix is the good guy for a change. Like, I gotta give props where it's due. Okja, if you have Netflix, it either should be on there right now, or it's gonna be on there very soon. It's coming out like within this week. Definitely give it a chance. Highest recommendation. Might not be for everyone, but I just loved it, and I just had to tell you guys. So yeah, this was a live stream, so if I fucked up or if the stream dropped, I'm sorry. But I had to get it out there while it was still fresh. So, 1,000 subs! I must be doing something right. Thanks, guys. See y'all.